Hello, today we're going to talk about Tesla stock. Today it's been down a lot. It was way over when I was filming this. It was around 100, it was under the $200 mark. Um, and it's been hit. It's been hammered the last couple months, and I'm just thinking. I always think it was one of these stocks I've barely never recommended buying, especially when it was really really high, and it's went down over 30% in the last 3 months. It's just been getting hammered for some reason. It's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why. And in my opinion, why I got hit so hard is just first it was overvalued, and I got some numbers here I was going to go on a little bit about. And sometimes some of these stocks, I think it's just Tesla as a company. It's just it was almost overvalued, and it was sometimes when the news just comes out, slow down, and that's what happens in the auto industry. You have to understand. That's why it's a good idea to look at the business and what the business does, and you have to understand what the business is. It's the auto industry. It makes cars, so essentially cars. If there's any economic slowdown or anything like that, recession, cars they always get hammered. That's the first thing that goes. That's the I mean, people lose their jobs. They can't afford, because let's face it, can the average person in the United States buy a car straight in cash? A brand new car, that is. I mean, you can go down to the local, you know, car dealership or whatever, used car lot, and maybe buy a car in cash. Yeah, a couple of $1,000. But some of these cars, $20,000, $30,000 car, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer or just someone that just has a lot of money just sitting around, laying around, which a lot of people don't, you're not going to be able to buy them. So essentially, if you don't have a job, you won't buy them. But everybody knows that, really. But that's what really car industries, they always got hit. I mean, you can go back 2009, GM and Ford, they were getting bailed out by the government because, all of that. And Ford still has a lot of debt issues, too. So essentially, basically, Ford has kind of an ugly balance sheet. So, but I'm going to get into the things just to put it in perspective. Tesla, their sales from last year was only $21 billion in sales and revenue. If compared to Ford, it's $160 billion. So essentially, and here's the other thing, Tesla stock, if the market cap of Tesla is 36 billion. So essentially, and Ford is 41 billion by market cap. So essentially, Tesla at its peak was worth more than Ford Motor Company. Now, just put that in perspective. A company that has sales of $21 billion in sales is worth more in the same industry compared to the same company. Basically, they sell cars to average people. As Ford Motor Company, it's sitting around 41 billion. So essentially, I mean, I think Tesla was almost 52 billion. So essentially, legitimately, Tesla was bigger than Ford with almost, I mean, it's almost crazy. Just think about it. It had $20 billion in sales. It's just, 21. And then Ford Motor Company had $160 billion in sales. And the company's worth less than that. So essentially, that's kind of, and the thing is, Ford was profitable too. So Ford has its bottom line around, I'm just going to round it to 4 billion. So that puts in perspective where you're legitimately paying more for a company that has less sales, less profitability, and doesn't pay a dividend versus a Ford company. So essentially, that's why you have to really look at it. And they're basically, I mean, I'm not saying they're the same and all this, and they sell different products, but basically they're kind of the same type of company. That's legitimately what they do. They sell cars. That's what they do. So essentially, in Ford, and also GM, put that in perspective too. The GM top line was 147 billion, and GM's market cap is 52 billion. So it was legitimately worth more than GM also, but GM also has the bottom line, basically the earnings and everything, is 8 billion. So legitimately, you're paying, I mean, it's almost extraordinary amount of money for a company that's doesn't really have. It's basically just a fraction of the size, but it's worth more. I mean, that'd be idiotic. That almost. I mean, it's crazy to even think like that. That'd be almost like buying um a lot of these companies that, and you could say it has a lot more growth, but I hope so, because I mean, hell, they would almost have to double every year just to meet up with Ford, and the auto industry, sometimes the market just kind of peaks. I mean, that's just how the economy grows. I mean, once it hits a peak, it can't really grow anymore. There's only so much money and only so many people that could buy a car. So essentially, and that's kind of how the market goes. So essentially, then normally your revenue can go up so much, and then you have profit margin problems because everybody's kind of peaked out. So everybody reducing price to get more sales, but then the earnings go down. So essentially, Tesla is one of these, and a very kind of a competitive thing, because in the auto industry, it's so it never produces any cash flow, free cash flow, not a whole lot anyway. I mean, compared to a lot of these other companies. So essentially, that's why these Ford and GM are not really, their market caps are not really high compared to maybe some company like, Facebook or something like that, where it has very high profit, a lot of cash flow, or Google or something like that. So, I mean, it's legitimately, Ford has a lot more revenue than, than even Google, but it's worth a lot less. So essentially, it's just the way the industry works. I mean, that's why you always have to look at the company, really not look at the numbers, but kind of compare it to it. So essentially, but getting back to Tesla stock, I still don't recommend it. I didn't recommend it when it was sitting down at, especially when it was almost to 400. I mean, that was just crazy. I mean, you look at the market cap, and that's why the stock price, it doesn't really matter. I mean, everybody goes on about the stock price. Don't look at the stock price. You could lose money if you just look at the stock price, because it doesn't tell you anything about the business. It doesn't tell you if it's overvalued, undervalued. I mean, it doesn't do anything. I mean, it really doesn't. So essentially, it just, but that's just something. Always focus on market cap and really the potential of where Tesla could go. I mean, then you have to sit back from this level. Could it hit, let's say it hit $100 billion company? I mean, that'd be twice as big as Ford. That'd be GM and Ford combined. So, and that's if it goes up, what, about 4.5 times. Let's say it gets there in 20 years. It will legitimately have to be bigger than Ford and bigger than GM today. So, I mean, and I always think is, what, Ford and GM just going to waste away and go away, and everybody's going to buy Tesla. Another thing with Tesla and everything, it's kind of a premium brand. Tesla cars are a lot more expensive than Ford. I mean, Ford, you can pick up a car for around 17, 18, 20,000, and GM same way. So, but I mean, Teslas, I mean, I let's just say, I don't think the average person could ever maybe afford. Maybe they might. Maybe the average person, I mean, you would have to make pretty good money to afford a Tesla or something like that, because there's a lot of maintenance with it. And buy all the battery stuff and all these hidden fees, and it rounds up about $40,000-$50,000. I mean, that's getting up there. I mean, that's not a working man's car. I mean, that may be I mean, you have to be, and so that's why if it was me and everything, thinking about it, I don't like any of the auto stocks. I don't really recommend any of them. I don't like Ford, I don't like GM, and I really don't like Tesla. So essentially, that's kind of how I look at it. But if you own Tesla and you fully believe in the company, you think it's going to hit $100 billion, which it might. I mean, it would have to grow a lot more, but if you fully believe in it and believe in the Tesla and everything like that, and you believe in Elon Musk and all these things that Tesla's going to do, then sure. Don't sell the stock on everything I said, but just kind of, hopefully, I make these videos talking about these companies. Hopefully it just kind of opens your mind, and maybe it'll stop you from doing a thing, and hopefully it just stops you and it makes you think a little bit. So that's why I kind of make these videos, giving out these numbers and kind of comparing them to, and that's how you have to look at a company to understand the valuations of it. So essentially, you got compared to, especially a growing company, you have to look at the company where will it be in 10 years from now? You know what I mean? Or what in that industry, what does $100 billion company do? So I mean, essentially, if it's a $10 billion company, for it to go up 10 times, it'd be $100 billion company. What would $100 billion company in that industry look like? And then you have to compare it to that company. Could it be that company one of these days? So I mean, or if it's a growing industry, and I don't really see cars as a growing industry. I mean, people, it just grows with the economy. I don't think people are rushing out, buying cars, and then like it's a new thing. I mean, I mean. So essentially, it's not really changing. It's changing the auto industry. It is. I mean, it's changing to more electric cars and what he's done with electric cars, but I think Ford and GM could easily maybe jump on it a little bit, and all that. And he's trying to get into. He's really innovative, but it's just kind of one of these industries that you know, um, really, it doesn't really. There's not really a lot of innovative things because people still won't. The sole goal is for people to buy more cars, and it's kind of hard to sell things and sell people more cars when they really don't need one. I mean, I'm not going to buy 20 cars just to have it. The average consumer won't go back there. I mean, they might buy a car, then drive it for 5 years, and go back to it. And that's just the way the industry works. I don't see anybody buying a car every week, especially a $30,000-$40,000 car. Maybe if you're rich, but I mean, for the average consumer, they're not buying a car every week, especially a new one anyway. I mean, especially a $40,000 car. So essentially, that's what it is. And then you can say, well, they can get off the repairs, and that is a recurring revenue stream that a lot of these companies do. I mean, obviously, if your car breaks down, you have to take it somewhere and they fix it, and you have to charge that. So I guess that's how they make it. But that's how I just don't really like the car industry and really where it's at. But let's just say Tesla still remains on my watch list. I still watch it. Let's just say if Tesla would ever if we would ever go in a recession, and Tesla's still doing pretty well and it gets hammered, like it goes down 50% from where it's at, I definitely take a strong look at it. Let's just say that. I mean, if it was a $10 billion company or a 15, I would definitely take a look at it. But at these levels, I'm not really interested at all, and I could just kind of pass it up, but still on the watch list. And if things change and they go into a different, you always have to keep an open mind. But at this time, that's why I recommend. Hope this video helps you guys out and everything. And make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you own it, and say I'm basically an idiot for saying this, and that's fine. I mean, I've been right on a lot of things, but sometimes I get it wrong also. So hopefully, but bottom line, hopefully this video helps you out. Thank you.